Okay, we're back now. So we talked about some of the problems with our center pick and roll, how it doesn't create good angles, how no one in the NBA runs center pick and roll, how we don't have the shooter take advantage of defenses that are hedging, how it creates more spacing, and how it doesn't give us easy opportunities if they zone someone off in the center and like just sag off our shooters in general. So one specific thing I want to talk about is like, so how can we adjust the pick and roll? So like, let's first talk about like how we come down and set up. So right here, if you see, we're going to look at like, let's say me handling the ball. Let's say we're going to run the pick and roll with Fink. And then we've got like, I'm not going to write the letters anymore, but like, let's say we have Yoni, Cuervo at 3, and then we also have Caden at 5, right? So like, first thing we're going to notice is we have these three guys like way on the 3-point line, and if you notice, that creates this huge space in the middle right here. That's like a lot more open. I'd actually almost rather you guys literally basically have 1 foot out of bounds, especially the 3 and the 5. The 2 could be like a little bit here, and this creates a lot of spacing. And we'll talk about like again in the last series, they just kind of just didn't play anyone on Roush, and they just zoned a guy here. We can talk about how to take advantage of that, but let's say they actually, at least for a couple of looks, like sag off, like they man up here, and then we have the true ISO pick and roll, like left side, like a 1-4 high roll. Okay, so now we've got the spacing, the 1-4 high roll, and so how do we decide on what side the screen should be set on? So a lot of times what we do is we kind of come down and we telegraph the screen. So here I can go both left baseline or I can come right middle. In general, we'd rather the screen come on the right side so that I can go towards the middle and have more space. But it doesn't really matter. We can run it both left to right, and like if I left, like it's easier for them to do like a baseline trap, but like they're probably not going to baseline trap. I'm not too worried about that. So what's important for us to do here is that the 4 players are going to start a little bit farther back, and they're going to start walking over to set the screen. It's important that they don't actually give away which side they're screening. They're kind of walking directly towards me. And then let's say we're Fink's the 4, I'm at the 1. Fink's going to wait for me to make my crossover. So let's say I'm here, I'm dribbling. Then I make my crossover. I'm right. My defender turns his hips. Then Fink takes 1, 2, plant, bang. That's when the screen's set. So that way, when they're calling out the screen, they can't just say, oh, screen's coming left, screen's coming right. They don't know where it's going, and we're waiting to actually set our screen package based upon me creating initial separation and the screen using that separation to actually further the play. So what happens is here, if the screen's set here, let me just get this out of the way. Fink comes up, I make my little cross right. Fink comes here, sets the screen. I'm coming off tight that screen, grabbing his left leg as he turns, he rolls. I'm coming here looking for 2 options. I can come all the way across, finish right here. Fink's going to give me that tight roll, so I can either lob it over the defender if he's trailing. I can bounce past, lead him. And look at all the space that we have to operate. See, what happened in the flaw with that is that in the earlier times that when I get the screen here, my angle is right to the basket. So like that's really good. And 2, there's more room for Fink and I to play with the spacing and the roll game here for me to actually find who I'm going to pass. Because when you're here, Fink's roll is going to be a lot better. He can either roll all the way to the basket, we'll talk about some pick and pop actions, but his basic role is him catching the ball on the left block right here for an easy layup. And you can see that there's massive separation between us. When we're on that high pick and roll, everything kind of gets clogged up. Now, what do the off-ball guys do? So, assuming that the off-ball guys, we still get a man defense, like we like to get somewhat of a secondary option and a secondary look without actually breaking down the play. So what I like to do in this is that, assuming I don't pass the ball, once the play breaks down, so that means I get stuck here, my defender somehow switches or stays on me, and then I'm holding the ball back, that's when you like to run the 3 off a double down screen between the 2 and the 5. You run the double down, or you can do the Klay Thompson. You can kind of come off 1 in between 2, coming down here either outside for the 3 or coming right here for this elbow. So like I'd like Yoni like taking 3, coming off 5, down 2, elbow, I'm stuck here, pass right here. Defender is probably going to, what happens with the defender is they probably just sag off cutting here and you hit that shot, like right there. That's a good second option. But the key for that second option is that we're waiting really patiently for the pick and roll to actually break down. Now what's going to happen a lot of times is that either A, they're just going to switch the pick and roll and we don't gain an advantage. It's really key though who we get to switch on. So in this matchup, I'm picturing a lot of like Bayer on Fink and me at the 1. If Bayer switches on to me, clear out, I will score on it every time. Like that is a great matchup for us to exploit, and we'll have the spacing with these guys here. Or if I have a smaller defender on me, like I'll probably have Soroz on me, like so it's not going to be that effective. We could then look for Fink to post up on that. But what's more important is like a lot of times like we should have 3 offensive threats in the game, but like we could be playing Sack at the 5, and maybe we're just not picking rolling with Sack at this point. So we might have a non-shooter or non-threat here. Even if we don't have a non-shooter or non-threat, a lot of times we'll have like Caden or Yoni here, and they'll catch the ball at the 3-point line, and they're just for whatever reason like not ready to shoot right away. And that's not saying that we should be shooting that, but like we're probably just not all like good enough 3-point shooters where we should just, if a defender sags here and we swing to Yoni in the corner, they're just going to shoot it every single time and make it every single time. Like it's just not necessarily the best play. We want to have a more diversified option than just telling everyone to shoot it every single time if they sag off. And when the more they sag off, if he sags to here, that just means more help in the pick and roll. So like what do we do when they're sagging? So one thing we can do that's better is when the high guy catches the ball with a sagging defender, you can just go right to the basket. Because when defenders give you space, that allows you just to get a full head of steam and actually go to the basket. This is what I love to see more from Caden is instead of catching, waiting for your defender to come up, you can just catch and go right to the basket and they're just not going to guard you. So working on catching the ball with momentum is good when defenders are sagging off and we swing to the weak side. But what if like they literally just did what they did last game where they're zoning off a player here, and if me and Fink run on the side pick and roll, there's still going to be a defender in the middle. Like how can we actually counteract that? So what we want to do if they are literally zoning off a player is we want to bring the 2-player out to like right here. So now we have 2 options if the 2 players out here. So if the 2 players out right here and they're zoning off this guy to the center, he's either going to come out here and play him. That's fine. We still have enough space to run our pick and roll. Or B, he still stays low and we have easy like a 3-point looks for Cuerva, or we could step up and shoot this elbow jumper. Now let's say the 2 goes out here. This guy is not guarding. He's guarding the 5. So we have our defenders, the 2's here, and there's a defender in front of him. This guy's guarding, let's say, Isaac in the corner. So what we want to do with this is 3 still as a defender. Here is that we can then simply just rotate the basketball. So we want to start by looking at our pick and roll action. We have the 2 come up here, 1 passes to 2, and then we swing to the 5 right here. Now maybe Sack's not the best player to catch this right here, but we could presumably still be in a system where like they're sagging off their players to a large extent, and we have someone like Fink catching the ball here, and let's say like I'm running the pick and roll with Caden like 1-4. And if he catches it here, that's just an easy shot for him. So if they sag off the defender like this, we want all 3 of the players to still be on this half of the court, but we want them to be spread out enough that they can't be guarded by 2 defenders. That way if we switch the ball, we can get either an open 3-point look or elbow jumpers from right here, and that should be pretty easy to break down. And what's really good is that, let's say, just Xing this stuff out, we still have our guy here. The ball, let's say we have Cuervo here, and he moved over here, and we have, let's say, Yoni here and Cuervo here, but now Yoni's like right here, and this is Cuervo, Yoni, Caden, something like that, like with a little bit of spacing, is that if we swing it here and someone's wide open here, when this defender goes to cover here, Fink can set a back screen for me, and I can flash the ball right here. So what you can imagine that would be very effective for me to then flash that way, and gives me more open actions. So again, what's really important when they sag off is that we spread out these 3 guys on the 3-point line still maintaining that everyone's on this side of the line. And we then look for the backdoor action after I swing the ball to the secondary guard here. Now, last thing to think about in the pick and roll is like, what about pick and pops? What about slipping the screen? So think a good action for you is you can kind of come up to set the screen, and then instead of actually setting the screen, you flash right towards the basket in the backdoor cut, and I can lob it over the top of you. So that'll work really well. I think Caden runs that really well. Caden likes to have those backdoor actions. A lot of times when like I'm dribbling the ball, everyone's focused on me and loves to help because I'll take bad shots when I get double teamed. So if everyone's on me, having that backdoor slip action is a good idea. And also, we can still set, if we have a shooter setting the screen, let's say it's like a me and Cuervo screen and me and Yoni screen, you can set it and then just kind of roll out back to the 3-point line. They'll double, and then we just do a little kick out for a 3-point shot.